I figured I'd dedicate a separate short lesson to VRChat specific prefabs because there are a few that I know a lot of people will want in their worlds. Many VRChat prefabs can be found on the VRC prefabs database. Note that SDK2 prefabs will not work in our SDK3 world, only Udon prefabs will work. Many prefabs require UdonSharp to work. This compiles C# code into Udon. You don't need to know how it works, just make sure you import it before importing an Udon prefab that requires it. One of the most popular features of small worlds is a video player. One of the most popular of these is Merlin's UdonSharp player, which we will be using, but some other ones are VRC Udons and ProTV. Technically, all of these are supported on Quest. However, YouTube and Twitch URLs do not work. More info in a post in the description. First, we need to import UdonSharp. Grab the Unity package from the GitHub page under releases for both UdonSharp and USharpVideo. There should be a video player prefab in the USharpVideo folder in the project. Drag that into the scene, unpack, and you're done. You can change some of the options on the player, like whether control is locked to the master of the world, or whether anyone can paste video links. You can change the UI style by going to the Controls UI game object in the prefab, clicking on the style and dragging in a different one from the folder, or you can make your own. You can add URLs for the video player to play by default by clicking on the plus icon under the default playlist URLs on the root game object of the prefab. The prefab comes with some audio settings pre-set up, but you may want to change them. Some of the audio settings are pretty self-explanatory, or as always, you can click on the circle with the question mark to go to the documentation page. However, some are a little confusing, so I'll go over them. The spatial blend controls how much the audio source is handled by the 3D engine. So if it's set all the way to the left, to 2D, all of the sounds under 3D sound settings are ignored and the sound is always omnipresent. Spread controls where the sound is coming from. If it's set to 0, then it will sound like the sound is coming from the audio source. If the sound is set to 360, it'll sound like it's coming from the direction opposite of the audio source. Personally, for video players, I like to set the spread to 180 so it won't sound any different if you're rolling your head around, like an omnipresent sound, but still set the spatial blend to 3D, the fall off to logarithmic, and then change the min distance to something like 4, at least in larger worlds with at least a few rooms, so that if players walk further away from the video player, the sound will start to fall off. Also, if you do this, make sure to set the stream audio source to stereo mix and disable the other stream audio source channel game object. And don't forget to apply these settings to the video audio source as well. If you're just making a one-room world, you can disable the 3D spatialization settings entirely by unchecking the Enable Spatialization box under the VRC Spatial Audio Source component. Another popular prefab is QVPens. Grab these from their page on Booth. After importing, drag the prefab into the scene. Prefabs with Udon elements can cause conflicts, so it's best to unpack your prefabs in your scene to ensure they work properly. You can right-click on the prefab in the hierarchy and click Unpack Prefab. This will make your object no longer a prefab. If you want a low-quality mirror without the skybox, you can use VRC PlayersOnlyMirror. It comes with a UI pre-set up. The standard shader isn't very good, but thankfully, there are community-created replacements that are much more intuitive and fully featured. Some of these include Z3Wise shaders or silence filamented, but the one we are going to use is Mochie standard because it is the easiest to install and tells you if your grayscale textures are set to sRGB and provides a button to automatically fix it if they are. It uses the industry standard roughness maps instead of smoothness maps and gives greater control over the parallax mapping for height maps, among many other features. Water shaders are also something many world creators want, and Mochie's shader package also comes with a decent water shader. Other VR-specific water shaders I would recommend are Red Sim's water shaders, Silence Clearwater, and Norbian's water, among others. Note that to have refraction, the shader must use a grab pass, which is computationally expensive and does not work on Quest. Many water shaders also require a depth pass, which necessitates that a real-time light with shadows be in the scene. There is a depth pass prefab included in UdonToolkit that is set to have the least impact on performance. As for my personal opinions on them, I think Red Sims have the best caustics, Mochie's water caustics look too much like a Voronoi texture to me, and Norbians seem to have the best performance, also works with Quest, and doesn't require a real-time light for a depth pass. Some prefabs don't come in a Unity package, but in a zip file with a package.json file inside. To import these, open the package manager, click the plus icon, then click the package.json file and open it. They will then show up in custom packages in the package manager and can be removed from there. Note that if you move the location of the package on your hard drive, you will either have to move it back or reinstall it. For those who are interested, if you want to convert Unity C# scripts to UdonSharp, it typically isn't very difficult, as long as the methods used in the script are exposed in Udon. A lot of the time, you can just change the base class from mono behavior to UdonSharp behavior, and change or remove the namespace if it has one. Then create a new Udon C# program asset by going to Create, VRChat, Udon C# program asset, plug the script into it, plug that into an Udon component, and it should work. You can check the UdonSharp class exposure tree by going to Window, UdonSharp, Class Exposure Tree. If you run into problems or have more questions, visit the Discord server linked in UdonSharp's GitHub page. If you plan on writing UdonSharp scripts, I would also recommend UdonToolkit, which allows you to create custom inspectors for your scripts, like I did on my fork of Novamax's day-night cycle prefab. It helps make them easier to use not only for yourself, but also anyone else if you plan on making it available. That's it for this episode. Join me next time for the final lesson in this series, where we will upload our world to PC and Quest.